looking at the saving life of the people, protecting the environment, safeguarding the building as a whole. So that's the most important thing that the fire engineering should be looked at. I'm just encouraging the people that are practicing fire engineering worldwide or in South Africa, where I'm coming from, that we need to take into account the issue of bridging the gap, the skills, the qualifications, the knowledge that we need to acquire from this kind of a degree is very, very important for us to close that gap down so that we can be able to practice this field, which is a multidisciplinary engineering field, like taking into account, for instance, the Montreal Protocol abroad, USA, when you see the use of halon gas, where you want to replace it, and this is a widely used gas that has been used in the fire suppression system. So our chemical engineers and environmental people, they're supposed to be part of this to show that we are a multidisciplinary. When we see this kind of gases, our people must be able to come with the new gases in the market and help the other engineering fields. What are the new gases that need to be considered when we say FM200 is no longer good for the environmental or the ozone layer, the depletion of ozone layer? What are the gases that we need to bring in? Then we look at the advice from the environmental specialists in how to decant, how to decommission in this kind of a suppression system that had been developed long time ago. What are the new methods that we can bring in, or the gases and all that? Mechanical as usual, the pumping stations and all that. That shows that the booster pumps, hydraulics and piping and all that. That shows that it's a multidisciplinary field. It's not a one-man show at the end of the day. Electrical, your fire detectors and telecommunication, telemetries and all that. Where we can end up by looking at civil, the firewalls that we're building, the construction material. Material, again, engineers, metallurgy are part of this. We design as per environment. We don't design one size fit all. So, I mean, we need to work together as institutions or as an engineering fraternity so that we can close the gap. And by doing so, we'll be able to build a nation going forward. So I can end up by saying this, Prof, that it's not a one-man show. We need one another in this discipline so that we can able to move the country or the continent going forward. This is a good opportunity. It's an opportunity for our people in the continent. Let's embark on enrolling for this kind of degree so that we can able to close the gap and knowledge, skills that we require in the industry. Thanks a lot, Prof. Thanks a lot for the audiences. I can end up here.
Thanks, Jaxis. We've got various organizations we're working with, SciMeki, SciC, the SFPE, and I'll get also to others later. So yeah, just also a quick word from SciC, the South African Institute of Civils, the head of the fire engineering division, Jocelyn, also very involved in the fire engineering community in South Africa.
Thanks, Richard. Hello, everyone. As Richard said, I'm Jocelyn Evans, here today on behalf of the SciC Fire Division and the SFPE South Africa chapter. Thank you, Ansel, for your words, and thank you, Richard, for inviting us to be a part of a monumental and much-needed leap forward in affordable and accessible formal training in fire engineering, made available locally to South Africans, to the developing world, and beyond through the program's online and hybrid offering. Fire engineering is a relatively newly recognized specialty field of engineering in South Africa. Through the dedicated efforts of individuals like Richard and his team, our fire division committee members, and others, the knowledge and understanding of the role of a fire engineer within the professional team has grown. Importantly, so have the expectations of the expertise offered and the liability associated therewith. In keeping with this encouraged industry recognition of competencies, the Engineering Council of South Africa has a select number of highly specialized specified category registrations currently available, and the launch of this program takes us a meaningful step closer to establishing a fire-specific field of registration within other professional registration categories in South Africa. As shown on the screen and defined by the Society of Fire Protection Engineers, a fire protection engineer is an individual who, by formal training and professional experience, carries the necessary competency and has the skills to provide guidance and direction to protect life, property, and environment from threats posed by fire and its related mechanism. As can be gleaned from the definition, a fire engineer requires a holistic and wide-ranging skill set in order to understand the interactions and the cascading of fire risks across any number of unique environments and applications. The fire engineer is the link between the other disciplines of the professional team. We have to speak to all parties involved to ensure the most appropriate, effective, and financially feasible fire risk management strategies are utilized. Without the technical competency required to achieve this, we end up with siloing of strategies, which often results in a false sense of safety. But that is why today is so important and why we are so proud to participate in this first step towards the development of those technical competencies and skills through the launch of this program by the University of Stellenbosch. And we, as industry associations, serve in supporting the growth of the professional experience needed to complement the academic background in the development of competent fire engineers. Having industry associations to support, enable collaboration and platforms for education is necessary to increase competencies and quality of the works performed in our field. Although this MEng program has found its home within the civil engineering department, it's acknowledged and appreciated that fire engineering-based qualifications in South Africa and globally span civil, mechanical, electrical, and others, with many roads leading home to fire. Similarly, the fire division within SAICI, although a civil engineering association, is open to all interested disciplines, as is the SFPE South Africa chapter. Regardless of starting point or stage of your journey in the world of fire engineering, please join us in our collective effort to elevate the technical competency in fire engineering through access to programs like this and to build an ethos of accountability and professionalism within our critical industry for both public safety and economic sustainability. Now, to give you the actual details of the program, allow me to hand back to Richard. Thank you.
Thanks, Jocelyn. And just a quick poll thought, just to find out who's in the room. We've launched a bit of a poll. You can say what background you're from, just for a matter of interest, so we can see who's who in the zoo in terms of today. So going to now quickly take you through as much as we can in the in the degree. So formal research in fire safety started about 2014 at Stellenbosch. Our team currently consists of up to 9 PhD researchers, 8 to 10 masters, a number of final years, and then also 3 staff members and 4 adjunct staff members. So by the end of 2023, by end of this year, we'll awarded 7 PhDs and around 20 masters. So various international awards and significant research produced. So this is not new. However, a structured approach to this is now new, so a coursework based. But I mean, Stellenbosch, we go back even further. We've been burning down buildings since 2007, 2010, 2015, and 2019. So we don't just have theoretical knowledge. We've burnt down a number of buildings. I was not involved in any of these, I promise. But we're now formalizing that expertise into the degree we're discussing today. In addition, as today is focusing on the structure, the coursework-based masters, but we also do have a research-based master's degree and PhD. So we're not getting in those today, but yeah. So what is fire engineering? As introduced by Jocelyn earlier, fire engineer seeks to identify risks related to fire and determine ways to reduce the risks, as well as design ways for safeguarding against the wrath of fire. Through the application of science and engineering principles, the engineer can mitigate, detect, control, suppress a fire. On the right here, you'll see the SFP core competencies shown. Now, in terms of our degree, we are basing things upon the SFPE core competencies. So the aim is that the internationally recognized skill sets that are said are needed, we're seeking to develop those within the courses that are coming. So you'll see that as we go. So now just an overview. So the MEng, so it's a structured, that's where the S comes from, Masters in Engineering, with structured coursework content. It's a 180 credit degree. So 1 credit in the South African system is about 10 hours of work. So it's an 1,800 hours of work, which is quite a lot of work. It's NQF 9, so if you're not familiar, that's a master's level degree. NQF 10 is the highest level. It is then PhD. So it can be done full-time or part-time. It's designed for industry delegates. Now, we are just at the process of getting the word fire in there, because all our degrees are masters in engineering. Yeah? Whether you do geotechnical engineering, structural engineering, energy, etc., all our degrees across the departments are masters in engineering. Doesn't matter the discipline. We are embarking on a process to get the word fire added, but that is a 2-year process, so that we will update you as it goes past. And with that, now Dr. Natalia Flores-Quiroz, team member, is going to start talking you through the degree program in terms of the structure, courses, etc. So over to Natalia.
Thank you, Richard, and welcome everyone. So as we can see here, there's the structure of our degree. We have 5 engineering courses, and then you would also need to choose 3 electives, okay? Each of these courses account for 15 credits, and then at the end, you also have to conduct a research project that accounts for 60 credits. So now I'm just gonna provide a bit more details about these courses. Next, Richard, please. Okay, so our first course is fire behavior, and which is the basic of our degree. And in here, we will look into chemical reactions that take place during combustion and the physics behind the fire phenomenon. We will study why fires spread the way they do and why smoke moves the way it does. So this is the course that builds the foundation for the rest of the courses. Next, please. Then we have Fire Engineering 1, and here you will get the chance to apply all the concepts that we learned from the first course, and we will get into designing fire protection systems, such as detection and alarm, smoke and heat control, and also evacuation. Next, please. Then we have Fire Engineering 2, which we continue with some design. We have the design of suppression systems, such as sprinklers or gaseous systems. We will also see performance-based design, but we will introduce, can you come back a bit, Richard? Yeah. But we will also introduce hazard and risk analysis, which is very important for our designs, and how materials and products behave when exposed to fire. Now, yeah. And then we have techniques in fire engineering. And here you will have the opportunity to come to our laboratory and see how different systems work. And you can also learn about the different experimental tests that can be developed to assess fire behavior. And you will also be introduced to modeling systems such as the two-zone models or CFD. And it's very important that this is the only time that you need to come to Stellenbosch. You have to come here for 1 week so we can take you to our labs and have face-to-face classes. So, well, this is not only an exciting opportunity to learn, but also would be an opportunity to meet your classmates and your lecturers. So we are looking forward to that. Then we have the structural fire engineering, where we will see structures, steel structure, concrete structures, timber structures, and you can learn to design structures by taking into account the fire risk. Next, please. And as I mentioned before, you will have to choose 3 electives out of these 5 options. And yeah, you can see that it's clearly not really fire-related topics. However, this for sure will contribute to your engineering skills, and surely you will use it in the future too. So now back to Richard.
Great, thanks, Natalia. So yeah, so that just gives an overview of the general content. If you need more information, you will find the details online on our website, fire.sun.ac.za. So where all the where you registered, so the different details, etc. So I'm gonna launch another poll now just to get an idea of, I mean, it's just a quick question. So if additional courses were to be added to the degree instead of electives, what would you like to see more of? We've listed some examples. I mean, we could have listed probably 50 different courses, but keeping it simple. So, yeah, if you'd like to see more, what would you like to see more of in the degree? There are 5 courses and you're going to work very hard on those. But in terms of the team now, so then it's myself, Natalia, and then Courtney in the team in terms of at Stellenbosch, and then a lot of the courses and run by us. We're very fortunate to also have people in industry as working with us. So there's Dr. Antonio Tuchone. He's a specialist, one of our alumni. He's based in Nelspruit, but's done a lot of teaching and work and design and supervision of students, etc. We've got Mr. Dirk Streicher. He runs Ignis testing. He's very involved, very hands-on with the students. You know, assisting with experimental work, teachings, research, etc. So incredibly active, involved. And then in addition, we've got Danielle Antonella. She was actually the Woman of the Year in Fire Engineering and she's with Kindling and something with Associate Professor Leslie Gibson. They're both with Kindling International NGO, so they're adjunct and provide guidance and assistance as and when needed, but they're great collaborators to have involved the team. In addition to this, there are many other people who are called upon and involved. We've had guest speakers, Dr. Noah Ryder and Mr. John Iverson, various others who've come out and assisted us. So some of the practicalities regarding the courses, so it's hybrid online delivery mode. So all courses can be done remotely. So that we're trying to develop this for the person in practice. That's our target market. Because plain and simple, 17-year-olds don't want to do fire engineering. They haven't the foggiest clue what it is. So we're targeting those people who got a degree, went out and worked, and then discovered, gee, there's this thing called fire engineering. I know very little about it, but it's kind of cool, and I want to upskill. That's our target market, i.e. most of you. So that's the focus. So you need to come to Stellenbosch once during the degree, and that's for labs and experiments. Other than that, you should be able to complete everything else remotely. I cannot promise for all the electives. All the electives should be available for full hybrid, what we call hybrid. There may be live lectures, which I'll show now, but you should be able to complete it remotely, but we'll just double check that. But of the electives, you will be able to be fine, but it does give you an excuse to come to South Africa. So down to Cape Town. The degree can be done in the following time period. So it's a 2-year full-time degree. Working out, you can get it done in less than 2 years. However, for the part-time option, you can do it 2 years part-time. That's doable. The reality that we find is most engineers, 40 hours a week is a kind of a suggestion on a good week, where we know most of you in practice are not working sensible hours. So in the engineering field in Africa and developing world, across the world, often there aren't the hours available. So what we suggest towards 3 years, just to be safe, is that it can be done in 2 years and it will be possible, but then there needs to be the hours available, controlled work hours. If you're there Saturdays at the office finishing off designs, it's going to be tough to get the studies in, just realistically speaking. You take the 1,800 hours and divide it up, you'll see. So this would be an example. So let's say now you did it in 3 years. As I said, you can do it in 2. But let's say you did it in 3. So let's say the first year you do 3 fire engineering modules and 1 elective. And the next year you do, let's say, 2 fire engineering modules, 2 electives. And then you would do a research thesis. So we'll discuss that soon, a research project or thesis. Semesters, February to June. So that's our first semester and then our second semester. So for Northern Hemisphere people, you may not be used to it. So just remember it's the other way around. So our semesters are different to the Northern Hemisphere. Southern Hemisphere people, not a problem. So now this might be a typical type of, let's say, schedule. This would be an example. Let's say someone starts in 2024. So the first semester you do fire behavior and numerical methods. Every person, we run fire behavior every year. The other modules we swap every second year, because everyone's doing it in 2 years, so you swap. And then it doesn't really matter which order you do the modules thereof, but you always get to fire behavior first. You may do a second one at the same time, depending on what year. But let's say you decide to do numeric methods, fire engineering 2, structural fire, etc. So the first 2 years, you get your courses out the way, the blue ones being electives. And then the third year, you do your research project or thesis. And that, as I said, it's about a third of the degree. So you do roughly a third through the time that you are there. So what does a module look like? Because we're talking, there's 8 modules here that you do. So each is 15 credits or 150 hours of work. So this is not Mickey Mouse. You don't just write a quick report, submit it. This is quite significant time and effort. It's a full master's degree. Their block course content. So I saw a question already pop up on that. So the faculty recognizes that often people, especially working part-time, don't easily get time in their schedule. And when it's a couple of hours during the day, often work crowds it out. So especially the electives are definitely all block weeks. For the fire engineering, we'll probably do it that they'll say there'll be two sets of 2 days. So there'll be 2 days in a row with lectures and then a number of weeks break. And then let's say another 2 days of lectures and a number of weeks break in between those 2 sets. So let's say now, end of February, you have 2 days. Live lectures, we will record, but the main thing is live interaction. You can either attend in face or online, ask questions, engage with your lecturers, do tutorials, etc. The week after, now there's no class, but there will be some additional online lectures live, some recorded lectures, online short assignments. Before the block lectures, you only need to have some pre-reading done. And then go through. There will be tutorials, assignments, etc. Depending on the course, there may either be exam or project-based. So, for instance, the design courses are much more project-based. So when we ran one of our courses last year, they had to do a performance-based fire design for our new fire lab. And they had to run through evacuation calcs and sprinkler calcs and the whole works to design a full system. Now, each course, they approximately occur over 15 weeks. As I said, that's sort of an overall semester. They may start earlier or later, but that's sort of big picture. They run over these sorts of periods, over a number of months. Then tutorials are done, assignments are done, etc., etc. Now, tuition costs, because I know this does affect people. I would love to bring these costs down further, but so approximate costs. This is a conservative cost. So this is if you do it over 3 years. Be about 145,000. I am a little conservative in that calculation. It could be a bit lower, let's say 10,000 or more lower, but we do have, there may be inflation or government-linked increase in fees, which we can't account for. So I've gone a little on the conservative side. It's roughly that total in US dollars. So this is for South African students. So that's the total amount over 3 years. Now, as I said, I'd love to bring this down further, but for the South African market, the good thing now is that this is minimum half, but anything up to 4 times cheaper than the international degrees. So I mean, this is a lot cheaper than the international UK, USA degrees. And I think that's really going to open things up. Now, for foreign students, there are additional costs, unfortunately. So if you're in Africa, it's about 2,000 Rand per year extra. So that's not a lot of money. Unfortunately, outside of Africa, there is a yearly fee of about 3,700 for that. So outside of Africa, there is a international student fee. So I do apologize. So yeah, that over, if you do it in 3 years, then it will be approximately 250,000 Rand. Now, if you can do it in 2 years, there are savings. But as I said, we safely aim for 3 years, then it's safe, but you can try for 2. So yeah, so that gives an estimate of costs, but as once again, when you convert that into pounds and euros, it's a whole lot more affordable. Now, just going to answer some of the questions that often come up, preempting what's going to likely be there. Now, is the degree accredited? Because that's often people want to know. Firstly, all Stellenbosch University degrees are SAQA, South African Qualifications Authority accredited. All our degrees are fully accredited. Now, often a question is the degree EXA accredited? EXA is extremely important. EXA is a very important body. But just to note, EXA doesn't accredit master's degree. They accredit undergraduate programs. So we can't call it an EXA accredited degree because that doesn't exist in terms of master's level. There's not a precedent for that. However, all our undergraduate degrees are EXA accredited. So for those outside South Africa, we are part of the Washington Accord. So our degrees are internationally recognized. Our graduates practice in the UK, Australia, USA, Canada, no problems. And the master's simply follows on from that. So we've had no problems with our degrees being recognized around the world. As I said, our engineers are working all over the world. And unfortunately, that's true because South Africa, the rest of the world likes stealing our engineers, our fire engineers. I know a whole bunch of them who are in Australia, UK, all over the world now. They're having no problems getting nice salaries there. Now, what codes are used? So in terms of codes, that's often a question. Now, we focus on theory rather than the codes. Some smaller code excerpts may be used. If there's going to be a significant code usage, let's say quite in a course, we'll typically go for international codes, primarily NFPA, just to keep it international. So it's an internationally recognized code. As I said, codes are not the focus, but codes are the application. The NFPA has been hugely supportive to us historically. Actually, Kathleen Almond is online. She's been a major supporter of us, the retired vice president of the NFPA, and we're in touch with others there. So they've been a huge help to us along the way. As I said, but once again, the focus is not codes, but they will pop up at time in here and there. Now, how to apply? So firstly, go to fire.sun.ac.za, how to apply. So you'll find the details there. Unfortunately, universities around the world like making the system confusing. I don't know why universities do that, but that's the way it is. So just be careful. If you need help, please let us know. So firstly, make sure you meet the admission requirements. So you need an undergraduate engineering degree, BEng, BSc in engineering, civil, mechanical, electrical, chemical. We have all of those in our team and more. And I rumor has it of an industrial engineer coming in next year, so we can flesh out. We've got mechatronic. Courtney Devine's a mechatronic engineer. I mean, I'm civil and Natalia is electrical. So even in our own little team, we've got multiple backgrounds. So typically average of 60 is required for admission. If you have a BTech, it may be considered possibly additional studies. So you can apply, but it may need to be considered depending on the studies, background, etc. So that needs to be checked. And also it must be EXA approved. So it must be a registered or equivalent in other countries. So our international office of it evaluate. So attend our open days, apply. So then you'll go to a website. There are, you click the button and you start getting through. So fire engineering has been added. So there is a form you submit. You will find that on the website. So I'm not going to go through all the details or bore you to tears, but there's a fire engineering option. This is very new now. Thankfully, Stellenbosch University now, it's been building, but now the university has backed us and has come in and just provided the support to make this go ahead. This has all been finalized recently, and everything is now being uploaded onto the system. So the forms have been updated. The online application is currently being updated as we speak. So if you log in, and the MEng hosted by the Department of Civil, I'm based in Civil, but as I said, it's a fire degree. There are no civil courses, so it's hosted in Civil. Structured coursework base, and then it's the fire. If that is not online, it should be any day now or any hour now. If that's not on there, you can check another option. Don't stress, we will fix your afterwards. Everything's being loaded into the system now, and as long as you're registered at our department, we will fix the rest. So, but you can contact us if there's a problem. But yes, it's very exciting that this is now all happening after many years of trying quite hard, that this is going ahead. So in terms of timelines, virtual launch now, closing date for non-South African citizens, end of this month. So that's why we also rushed the launch. If you are a foreign student, apply now. If you don't know whether you're coming or not, just apply. I think it's 100 or 200 Rand, the application fee. It's not a lot of money and you can reject it. So should you apply and decide not to come, you simply just don't arrive. But at least you're in the system. They evaluate your degrees, etc. So the issue is apologies. Sorry, I made a mistake here. This should say South African students. Just pick that up. So this is non-South African students end of this month. South African students can apply till the end of this year. So South African students closing date is the end of December. But my suggestion is apply early. We don't know yet how many people are applying. And if large numbers apply, we may have to cut numbers. So rather get in, get a point, get a place, because we don't know yet what the cutoff will be. We'll wait and see registrations. February 2024, you will register, and then classes start mid next year. So now, what are some of the research topics? So introduced earlier, so about a third of your degree is a thesis. These are examples. This is not everything, but this is examples of topics that may be done. So fire safety for biomass and recycled products. I mean, we were in the lab with Ignis a few days ago burning bricks with crumb rubber and plastic in them because that's what people are building. We want to know what's the fire risk and emissions. There's photovoltaic fire safety. Courtney Devine's involved with that. And that is growing. That's a very important field. With Ignis, fire testing, instrumentation, measurement, there's a lot of going on in fire testing. Renewable energy, green hydrogen, Proconics, we've had many discussions with them. That's a big issue growing in the world. Hospital evacuation, I'll discuss just now. It's an exciting new project kicking off next year. Wildfires, mass timber structures, fire modeling, AI, and fire engineering, especially with Dr. Antonio Ciccone, 3D printing of fire protection. We have a 3D printer and we can print concrete, and we hopefully will soon be able to print passive protection. There's R&D work happening that might blow some people's minds. Then there's also various structural fire engineering topics on the go. So as I said, Natalia, Dr. Flores Quiroz is going to be leading a project actually sponsored, as I said, by the retired Vice President of NFPA. And we're going to have some bursaries and students working with our disaster management and hospitals on how do we evacuate our hospitals in case of emergency, because it's a big, big issue. I mean, I even saw in the news today that our High Court was considered a death trap. That was literally the headline, our High Court is a death trap. So our infrastructure, these high-risk facilities all need to be looked at. How do we design the safety systems on that? So one of the projects being considered, a lot of work with industry. So Ignis Testing been extremely generous, extremely supportive of the work we do. So this is Johannes from Ethiopia. He was in the lab a few weeks ago. In addition, Marika Duplessis, there's both been doing PhD research, hers on mass timber and connections, him on waste waste usage and how it affects fire risk if it's incorporated into construction material. So those are sort of things that could be involved with. As it PV panels on roofs, fire spread, etc. We also get involved in fire investigations. So this was models done by Dr. Antonio Ciccone, looking at fire spread through one of the investigations. And sometimes we then turn these projects into research topics. We had one that a student's wrapping up at the moment on a large-scale fire in a silo in agricultural facilities that caused extensive damage. So yeah, so the modeling, investigations, all those things may form part of the research and work. And want to partner with us. So many different companies are represented today, and we are developing a new fire lab. So that's a cross-section through the lab. It always ends up being interesting conversations with poor facilities management. We're like, hey, can we build a fire lab on campus? And the face is always like, what? But we have been kindly allocated space. We've got a large 400 square meter area. And now we're just trying to figure out the fit out and kitting. But it's going to be a research and teaching lab. So if you're at a company, do you want your company's products to be used by the next generation of fire engineers? So you know, we've had Bridget, for instance, sponsored equipment, and yeah, if we're training people on how to use fire panels or sprinklers, etc., why not have it as your system, your sprinklers in there that we then go play with during our fire techniques courses that we use for demonstrations that becomes part of the next generation's worth of learning. So sponsor a teaching wall, equipment, sprinklers, detection, etc. Bursaries provide materials for research, get involved. So there's various ways, and also yeah, not listed here in terms of this sort of work, but hire our graduates if you need. We're producing not, the numbers are very low and they get snapped up really fast, but we do have 1 or 2 graduating soon. So if you need staff for your companies, also come chat to us and we can try to put you in touch with talent. But as I said, there's a lack of number of people being graduated. So there's more opportunities than graduates, that's for sure. One of our last students, he graduated, he sent out his CV, had 3 job offers in a week. Not 3 interviews, 3 offers in a week. So yeah, so just some considerations in terms of thinking about this. There's a worldwide shortage in fire engineers. As I've heard many people say, they've never met an unemployed fire engineer. It's not, there's certain professions that are drawing a lot of people, but they're not a lot of jobs. In fire engineering, there's a worldwide shortage. I mean, I've had recruitment companies phoning me from other countries and you're like, hey, can you or your students come work for us? UK, Canada, Middle East, etc. I mean, one of my old students, or current students, is sitting in Qatar at the moment. High demand across multiple industries, mines, petrochem, consultancies, bulk storage and processing facilities, authorities, insurers, and other companies need these sorts of people. We've got the only master at the moment for Africa really for professional engineers. There are other qualifications happening, I mean, and we value those, but we're focusing on the professional engineer, the PREng degrees to take you through professional registration to become a design engineer. And that's really where our focus is. And then further studies will open many doors, make internationally competitive. As I said, I mean, even people from South Africa without formal fire qualifications, but a number of years experience are being snapped up overseas. I know the UK has got a major shortage at the moment, people jumping companies. So with that was a very brief introduction to our degree, to what's coming. So left you some of our tongue-in-cheek marketing campaign that we've used, and it's got a lot of attention online. But with this, we're going to go across to a time of questions now. So what I'm going to do now is also just put out another poll. So let me just see. We just want to get an idea of how many people are coming next year. How likely are you to register for the next Masters next year? We're a little blind in terms of how many people are coming. So this is not committed. If you click the wrong box, fine. So if you're very likely, somewhat unlikely, unlikely, or hey, I'm just here to support you, but too much, I'm gray here to start a degree now, but great, I'm here to hear what you are doing. So you're welcome just to let us know. We want to know, are we looking at 20 students or 50 students for next year? And see. But with that, we're going to swap to a time of questions. So now Natalia and I will start addressing those. And I'm just going to go back to the questions and then start at the top. We're going to work our way down, and you're welcome to post more as we go. So let's see now. Firstly, are these block courses or semester courses? I hope that's been addressed. They occur over a semester, but the main contact is face-to-face. So there'll be, let's say, 2 days and 2 days, 2 days and 3 days. Some electives maybe 5 days in a row. 4 blocks, I try to keep the blocks a little shorter, just because people are attending from different places in the world. So yeah, we will try to keep the hours reasonable, but there is additional content also to keep things moving so you don't forget about for 6 weeks. So there'll be some videos you need to watch, some short online submissions just to keep things moving with the course. So there is an online platform where quizzes are available, so everything can be submitted. It's called SunLearn, and all things are done through this. Are there exams for each courses? There is some form of assessment. Aslam, good to hear. We have a very important person from Transnet. He is keeping our ports and harbors safe. So Aslam, fantastic to have you here. And for the design courses, it's primarily project and fire engineering 1, 2, and even structural. But for instance, fire behavior, often more for an exam, where it's more theoretical, calculation based. So there is some form of assessment for each. So yeah, I see we've got someone from the Department of Infrastructure, fantastic. And then we have people, all sorts of topics, codes and standards. Yep, that is being flagged that we would like to add. So I'm just having a look at the answer, the summary of the feedback. Will we require to write research papers? Depends on what you mean by a research paper, not publishing journals. So the degree is not, you're not required to now, it's not a research base. So however, if a paper comes from your thesis, fantastic. But in terms of assignments, you may have, for instance, a research project for structural fire. But the research project would be present on facade fire risk, or present on PV fire risk. And you may have to do a research project where you present to your class members, but it's not publishing papers. So it's a coursework-based degree. But if research comes out of your thesis, fantastic. But it's not a requirement that you have a journal paper published. Can the course be tailored slightly depending on your existing degrees? I'm an electronic engineer, so can the focus of these theses? Yes, so that's a very good question. Can the focus be tailored in terms of thesis? Yes, we can discuss adjusting thesis to suit the needs of the individuals. We need to make sure that there is the expertise available to support it. But yes, there could be, for instance, a thesis that focuses more on detection. For instance, we've got a mining chair starting soon. And I mean, be great, hey, if you could, for instance, as an example, do mine detection, because they're building robots to go do cool stuff in mines. And could you do something with their robot to snuff out, explosive mixes in our mines? And that's just an example. So yes, that can be done. But I mean, one electrical engineer, she actually did Marika finishing as a PhD in mass timber, and did a really nice job. But yes, we can discuss that with you, suppression detection products, etc. The BTEC degrees yes, with national higher diplomas. Will the previous qualifications be recognized? Well, the equivalent, you need an NQF 8. So the question is in terms of recognition of degrees. So the degree is NQF 9. So by South African regulations, we need an NQF 8 degree of equivalent level. So as I said, the BTEC and then the BEng Tech, I think it's called now, or the BEng Tech Honors, apologies, that needs to, you can submit details, but it may need to be checked that sufficient maths and physics are available. Sometimes it's allowed, otherwise it may require additional study. So it depends. So you can submit details, but etc. But it must be EXA accredited degrees. There are some BTEC degrees which are not. So yeah, that is important, etc. So yeah, oh wow, we've got quite a few people potentially interested. if all of you come, that's fantastic. There's 42 people saying that they are very likely, and 2 people saying, hey, they're here for support. I appreciate those 2 people who've come out to watch us. Do you get credit for previous 5 courses at Stellenbosch? Henk, good to see you there. So what is being asked is some of our courses, master's courses, have been offered as short courses. We can discuss that with you personally in terms of accreditation, because they run on different systems. But yes, you have completed some of the work that forms part of the degrees. So there are ways and means. So we will discuss that with you. I think we can do that offline in terms of handling those. Okay. Now I have a BTEC in structural engineering. What sort of additional courses I'm possibly looking at? I think contact us. We can discuss further in terms of maths, chemistry, etc. I normally need some assistance from colleagues in terms of evaluating those, and then we can make recommendations. So I don't want it. But also BTECs in different countries are different. So my understanding, I think that in India, we may have people, some from India, I think your BTECs are the equivalent of our BEngs. So I'm talking from a South African system. In some countries, the BTEC is actually the higher degree. And so that is taken into account by our international office. They make recommendation to accept this. That's not a problem in the least for other countries, as I said, where it's done. On the selective subjects, can one choose from any discipline, for example, civil engineering? We can try. That will need to do. The faculty regulations are those of the electives. So we get in trouble, we can ask, but at the moment, I'm going to say that's not the focus at the moment. That we can ask, but at the moment, that the courses as shown there. If we can get other ones done instead, possible, but I'm not going to promise anything based on that, because otherwise also it gets quite complex between the different degree programs. Okay, you mentioned that for someone taking the program for 3 years, it means they'll need to start their thesis on the 3rd year. How does it work for a person taking the program for full-time 2 years? If you start full-time 2 years, you can start your degree from the start. So we will get you going quickly so that you can get your thesis underway. As I said, that is for the coursework-based thesis. We also have the research-based, and just while that question up, the bursaries, a number of the bursaries are attached to research-based theses. They still do some courses. They do 3 courses. And the research degree is actually slightly cheaper, but it cannot be done part-time. It is a full-time degree. So the research MEng is a full-time degree, slightly cheaper because there is certain support. But but you would then, irrespective if you are full-time, you would be able to start your thesis early on. Okay, the possibility that all the fire services and have a BTEC from TUT, how can a normal fire service protection now apply for this course? Will you accommodate it? You'll need to check. Firstly, now, I like the guys at TUT. They were in my office a week ago, so it's fantastic the work they're doing. Fortunately, the TUT degree isn't extra accredited as far as I'm understanding. They do have a master's. The TUT does have a master's, and they actually, my understanding, is going to also make it available. It's a research degree, but there is an option for that. So if you're unable to register for this, they can try and facilitate. So it's great that now they are making distance learning more accessible as well. So as a lovely chat with the guys last week, so that may be an option as well. If this doesn't work for you, they can assist. Can you pay monthly over the 2 to 3 years, or do you need to pay yearly upfront? There are guidelines if that is a critical thing. Otherwise, email us. I can send you the payment schedule. There is an upfront payment required. So there is a schedule. So it's not 100% upfront, but depending if you're South African or foreign, there are different amounts at different times. So just be aware there is an upfront payment. Off the top of my head, I've forgotten. I can try find it here possibly, but you do need to make sure that you're that a fair portion. I think it's up to 1/3, especially for foreign students, maybe upfront. As I'll have to confirm. You can email me and I can send you the payment schedule if that's an issue in terms of cash flow, which we do understand for some people. There is a schedule from the university in terms of when those payments are due. Good to see you. Well, hear you. Just so confirm, everything's online except the 1 week must be person. Yes, that is correct. It will be in blocks. Yes. So we'll be able to join online for 2 examples. Yes. So for instance, there's 2 days, Monday, Tuesday, those are run from electronic classrooms. So you can be sitting in Ireland, sitting in Australia. You'll be getting up early or going to bed late if you're far east or far west, but you can join online, live. So there will be some people in the class. Let's say there's 5, 10, 20 people in the class and 5, 20, 50 online. We actually find more people online, but you can ask questions, you can engage with other students. So yes, you can sit in Joburg, attend the course, be part of it, sitting in Joburg, following live lectures. We have full electronic venues and classrooms now to launch this from. Essentially, my employer would like to understand how I'll be unavailable during working hours. So as I said, primarily block courses. And then in addition to that, there will be some tutorials. But outside of the block courses, it's an hour or two here and there for tutorials. And then the videos you watch at your own pace. So the absolute maximum in a full-time period would be, let's say if every course was 5 days, would be 40 days that you need to have blocked out over the entire period of the degree. For all the courses, the research is done in your own time and you book hours to suit. The wind is very strong here with us. Sounds like you're in the Cape somewhere. I have missed some of the slides. What we will do is we're going to provide this video online. So someone, maybe they're sitting in Port Elizabeth or in Kabeja where the wind blows. So we will make the video available online to assist you. So what if I wish to exit the program after taking all the courses and opt not to do the research project? Am I entitled to get a diploma certificate? Not an easy question. The whole thing is that it wouldn't be an ideal situation because the next you can get, they may allow it, but as I said, that would be a special dispensation. So I don't want to answer you categorically. There is a postgraduate diploma. We are not ready for that. So that there's a 120 credit postgraduate diploma in engineering. But I think we'd need to discuss that. The thesis is an important part of it that makes it to the master's level. But yes, if you just disappeared, you would disappear. It's not an ideal situation in terms of it. We would seek to avoid that. Normally, if you don't, you need to complete the degree to get your certification. And we aren't set up for the postgraduate diploma at this point in time. Just the capacity constraints are not there to run it as a separate one. Does the course cover engineering background or does cover biotechnology? The course assumes that you are an engineer. So civil, mechanical, electrical, whichever background you come from, there's an engineering degree. So you've got all the maths and the physics. And then for the fire science, we assume virtually no fire knowledge. So you'll start from combustion, the fire triangle, and you'll build up, getting all the technical knowledge as you go. So it's an engineer with limited fire knowledge. That's the assumption. And then we take you through the different courses. So we're not assuming you know how to design sprinklers. We'll take you through sprinkler design, etc. When is the next intake for the short course? We will advertise those. The short course schedule will vary depending on our capacity. So this is going to keep us really busy. So we're going to see when and where we can provide short courses still. So I'm not going to promise anything. We do hope to provide CPD versions of some of these courses or sections of these courses, but we will communicate those as needed. If you contact our civil courses at sun.ac.za, you can get added to our mailing list, civil courses at sun.ac.za. I'll try to type that later. And then you can get added to our mailing list if you want to do short courses. Can you perhaps share the page of presentation showing the online application? Go to fire.sun.ac.za and go to how to apply. The information I showed is from there. So it's all on our website, the how to apply to assist with the online application. But we will also be posting this video to assist you. At SASL, we use the API codes as well, specifically on passive. Great. For passive protection, as we're going to look at it from first principles. Heat transfer, you'll do heat transfer, looking at what's a standard fire, how do you do calculations, etc., etc. So the codes, it's great. We will have people using API, we'll have people using BS, NFPA, UL, you name it. But we'll give you the basis then to work with those. I'm hoping to see funding opportunities on the program. We did advertise, thank you, Bipka has just kindly put, and Alette kindly put up details. I'm hoping to see a slide on funding opportunities. If you see fire.sun.ac.za, a number of bursaries were advertised. We are currently adjudicating those bursary applications. We had 32 applications we received, so there was quite a big interest. So we are busy evaluating those, and we're also working with the companies, Proconics, Industrial Fire, CFS, who provided bursaries as well to us. So that's all there. On one of the other questions, when it comes to the CFD, I assume we'll actually do actual simulation, correct? From previous experience, it takes a lot of processing power. Would we expect to have a PC that can handle it? You'll need to have well, firstly, it's an online degree, so you need to have a laptop. We are not assuming people have high performance computers. We're not expecting you to sign up for the degree. You need to have a crazy computer. The point of CFD is not that you can make something big. The point of CFD is that you can understand it at university level. So we have run such courses before. There may be, let's say, your final assignment where you'll need to let it run over the weekend for 12 hours or 16 hours or something, so be it. But the assumption is sort of a general purpose laptop. You don't need a high performance machine. The importance with CFD is actually know what your inputs and outputs are. That it's not just a black box. So testing what's ignition, what's spread, how do you interpret results, etc., etc. Yes, we will provide software. We do. Thunderhead has kindly been providing us with Pyrosim and Pathfinder, so we do have software. We do provide licenses, etc. Okay, so could I please do a rerun of the difference between the coursework-based and thesis-based options? So there's an MNR research. So it's 180 credits research degree. So it's entirely research. In addition to that, you do, let's say, prerequisite modules. So you do 3 taught modules, but the thesis, your mark is awarded based on your research. It's a slightly cheaper degree, but it has to be done 2 years full time. And then there's the coursework, which is 1/3 of the research, so 60 credits, and then 8 modules. So a lot more modules. It can be done part-time. That's what we are discussing primarily here today. And yeah, so let's just see, is it possible to go beyond the suggested 3-year period? It does happen at times that someone doesn't complete it within that period as part-time students. It is allowed. We try to avoid it as much as possible. But let's say now something happens and you don't complete it, or you fail a course or something along those lines. You're not going to get kicked out, but you may need to apply for readmission. If the end of 3 years comes and you haven't completed your thesis, you've completed very few modules, then you may not be allowed to continue. So you would need to see and make sure that there are sufficient credits in place to prove that you are going to pass. Readmission is contingent. So yeah, if someone's failing all their courses, making no progress, they may not be allowed to continue through the degree. I think that's all the questions. Great, and it is 2 minutes early. Any other questions before we wrap up? Just been looking at the questions being raised. Okay, wonderful. It's 70 odd people. It's so fantastic that you joined us today for the launch. I mean, it's really great that this is happening, and thanks to the team. We've been very supported. So the department, our university, and then Natalia and Courtney and the team supporting. We've had background people helping today. And as said, I mean, generous international supporters. We've really made this possible today. So we're looking forward to impacting the country and the rest of South Africa. So thank you very much, everyone. I don't see any more questions unless I've missed something. So with that, we will bring the launch to a close. And yeah, so just I see SA students mean with ID or residing students. It depends on what you mean by SA students. For applications, if you've studied in South Africa, that's normally sufficient. But in terms of costing, your costing is based on your nationality. So that would be which country you are a national of. Thanks. Okay, and then your admin, etc. The admin of applications, if you have studied in internationally, it goes through another route for evaluation of your qualifications. Thank you very much. We are going to wrap it up there. That's all for today. Onwards and upwards. Thank you. Yep, there's one of our big supporters, Kathleen, saying hi there. It's fantastic to have her online. Yep, thank you, Marcel. Great, welcome. Good to see you again. And various people. Hey, lots of familiar names. It's good to have you all. Barinda, thank you all, and we shall chat soon.